It is a day we'll remember for the rest of our lives. Where were you? What were you doing when news of the unthinkable shattered our national consciousness? Saturday marks 20 years since the September 11th attacks on America. Tonight, we begin a series of reports with how we covered the story. Kayla Gaskins has reflections from the people on your side.
September 11th, 2001. Almost anyone who is old enough to remember knows exactly where they were and what they were doing that day. Here at WAVY-TV 10, it was another day at work. And 9/11 was a story our news team had to figure out how to cover. So here's a look back on how 10 on Your Side covered one of the biggest news events in a lifetime.
September 11, 2001.
It's a beautiful blue sky. It was a beautiful September morning.
Had the monitor on the NBC's Today show. Katie Couric popped up. Looked kind of serious.
And I just remember just sitting there putting my shoes on, and I looked up and I just happened to see a plane going into the first building, the Trade Center.
The explosion, the smoke.
When I walked in the newsroom, everybody was looking up at the monitors and they were stunned, and it was complete silence, which is unusual for a newsroom.
The responsibility of the job we had kicked in. Who do we call to find out what's happening at Norfolk Naval or Langley Air Force Base or Oceana? Jets were flying out of Langley Air Force Base left and right. It was crazy.
And then when I got to the station, that's when the other plane hit the Pentagon.
And I remember the news director, Jim Turpin, said, "Rizzo and Fox, get in the car and go."
We scrambled a crew to head to New York. We actually set up along the interstate.
The first sight of the Manhattan skyline tonight, you can't see much of it. There should be two buildings there. Instead, all it is a plume of smoke. We could see that 40 miles out.
Fires are still flaring up at the Pentagon tonight. Team coverage first on Fox continues there tonight with Andy Fox. Andy, what's the situation there right now?
Well, Kelly, it remains the same. Firefighters still over there at the Pentagon. They've been dousing the fire all day.
I mean, the amount of media that was there when you pulled up, there were cameras and tripods and lights in both directions all over the place. You walked up this little hill, and then you saw the Pentagon, and you could see where the plane went in.
And we had a news conference that night because the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, and the rest of our government wanted to show it's business as usual.
We all piled into a van and drove up to the Pentagon. And I just remember getting off the bus, the soldiers with their rifles.
We were at war.
When we walked in the Pentagon, the smell of fuel just hit you, jet fuel.
It like burned my throat. I hear all these other, hotshot reporters up there, and I say, no, I'm going to ask a question.
Secretary, what do you say to the American people who may have questions on how something so coordinated has been carried out against this nation? What do you say to them who might not have confidence that our intelligence and our security are what they should be?
I say to them that the President of the United States will be making some remarks to them this evening.
The first day was kind of like overwhelming. We're gathering and just trying to get stuff on air. But on your downtime, I just went outside and I just looked at the Pentagon.
Rob's a fantastic photographer. To have covered that with him, I think, was a cementing moment in our life, sharing this terrible tragedy, working very well together, and bringing home the stories that Hampton Roads wanted to see.
I don't think there will ever be anything quite like it.
It was one day that I will never forget.
And of course, everyone here at the Pentagon thinking that September 11th will certainly be a date that changed America. Kelly, Nicole, back to you.
And of course, we hope we never see a day like that ever again. Our coverage of the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks continues all week long in this spot on WAVY News 10 at 6.